My spring garden just wouldn't be complete without growing some sweet corn in my raised beds. There's so much that I love about growing this crop. It's dramatic, it grows really fast and tall, it's got a unique sound, so it adds some ambiance to the garden. And not only that, but it's just fascinating to see this stuff grow when it makes the tassels and the silks. All parts of the corn plant are really interesting and unique. What's up everyone, it's Scott from New Garden Road. You know I'm here to inform, inspire, and elevate you. Encouraging biodiversity and restoring habitat is my mission. One garden at a time. In Central Texas, we can direct sow our sweet corn beginning in late February through mid-April. There's also a second planting window for a fall harvest, and that starts in late July and goes through mid-August. If you're in a different part of the country, you just want to look for soil temperatures between 50 and 60 degrees. Soil preparation is pretty straightforward. When I grow this corn, I like to add about 2 inches of a nice finished compost. In this case, it's the Happy Frog Soil Conditioner by Fox Farm. At the same time, I'll add an organic granular fertilizer higher in nitrogen, such as the Sustain brand 824. If you're growing corn in a small planting space such as a raised bed, you want to make sure and plant it in blocks. Corn is wind pollinated, so when you plant it in blocks, that's going to make for better pollination and fuller ears of corn. And in general, you can expect to yield 1 to 2 ears of corn per plant. So let me break down how I like to space the planting of my corn in my raised bed. Essentially, I've planted 4 8-foot rows of corn. This coincides with the configuration of my drip irrigation, so that corn is going to be growing right in line with that watering system. And from there, I planted 1 corn seed every 8 inches, and all but one of those seeds germinated, so I ended up with 43 corn plants in one 4x8 raised bed. I think it's really helpful to plant your corn in trenches. You want to make a trench about 6 inches deep, and then plant your seeds directly in the bottom of that trench. If you planted multiple seeds, you want to make sure and thin those out by the time they're about a foot tall. And at that point, you can fill in the trench with that soil. That's going to help your corn be more stable, and if you have high winds or some storms that roll through, that will make it less likely that you'll get some lodging or those corn plants are going to fall over. My stand of corn was able to stay upright through several storms. There was only one plant that I ended up staking with a 6-foot sturdy stake and a little bit of plant tie. That's one thing that you can do if they fall over or they get kind of crooked. You just want to gently put them back into place and tie them up high and again below the point where they've fallen over or bent. And that can work great as long as you don't have a clean break in the corn. You'll notice because that top will either stay green and continue to grow or it's going to wilt and pass on. Mulching is an essential ingredient. You don't want these plants to dry out as they're growing. So adding a good 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch, in this case I like pine straw, that's really going to help retain moisture as well as keep weeds from coming in and competing with your corn. Providing consistent moisture is going to be really key to their development and healthy production. I run my drip irrigation system typically once a week for 2 hours, and I have 2 gallon per hour emitters. What this enables me to do is saturate that soil to a depth of about 5 to 6 inches. The first thing that you're going to notice as your corn begins to mature is a tassel will begin forming at the top of the stalk. That's where the pollen is going to come from. A short time after that, you'll begin to see some baby ears of corn forming lower on the plant, and then you'll see these silks emerge. The silks need to be individually pollinated by the pollen that comes down from the tassels. So that helps you understand why planting in blocks and pollination is so important with corn. Each one of those silks has the potential to become a kernel of corn, so you want them all to get pollinated. Your corn should be ready for harvest about 18 to 24 days after those silks emerge. They'll start off kind of shiny and shimmery in a light green or yellow color, and when the silks turn brown, that's a clear indicator that they're probably ready. You can test your corn for readiness. You're going to lightly tear open the top of that ear of corn and find a nice ripe looking kernel. From there, apply firm pressure with one of your fingernails, and what you want to see is a nice milky liquid, and that means that your corn is ready for harvest. The corn earworm is one of my biggest pests, and I really don't do anything to treat for them. In my experience, they cause minimal damage, and it's just something that I can cut off the tip of the corn and not be worried about it. But if you do want to take action, you need to be ready as soon as those silks start to form, and from there, you're going to use some mineral oil and apply a few drops directly on those silks every 3 or 4 days. You want to keep that up until your corn is ready for harvest, so you got to be in it for the long haul. Could be up to 3 weeks, but that is a great organic treatment for the corn earworm. I do typically see a little bit of damage on each ear of corn that I have. There's usually just one corn earworm caterpillar in there munching down. So what I do is just chop off the very tip of that corn before I bring it inside. That's all there is to it. You want to enjoy that sweet corn as soon as possible. If you need to store it, bring it inside and keep it in the crisper drawer of your refrigerator. And I recommend keep keeping it in the corn husk. It's gonna store best that way. If you're lucky, you're gonna get hit with a lot of corn all at once. One of my favorite methods for processing the corn is I'll grill it and freeze it. It's really straightforward. I'll just open up each one of those corn husks and remove all the silks that I can. Then I'll return the corn husk over the corn and soak it in water for about 30 minutes. That's gonna help to alleviate some flare-ups on your grill. Just give it a few turns. You don't really have to cook it that much. And from there, I'll just take the corn off the cob and freeze it in pint-sized bags. It's great for use in salads or stir fries or scrambles. That's a really convenient way to cook it and store it all at once. It's really compact and you'll be enjoying that sweet corn throughout the summer. Growing sweet corn in raised beds is one of the most dramatic and enriching experiences that I get in the garden. I encourage you to try growing some sweet corn in a raised bed. It's one of the things that I look forward to most in the spring garden, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. Now check out more awesome gardening videos on my channel. Like this video if you like it, and subscribe to New Garden Road for weekly content. You can grow your own food. Keep it organic.